Hi guys, and welcome to this new episode of The Inexplicable. Today, science will finally be the undisputed star of the episode. Normally I bring it up to debunk myths and legends, but this time it will be science itself that makes us run a shiver down the spine. Yes, because the recent scientific discoveries I'm about to tell you about have the power to fascinate, but also to deeply unsettle. So, make yourselves comfortable, put on some headphones if you can, and get ready to discover something you won't easily forget. Here are 5 recent scientific discoveries that will give you chills. This time, it will be her who sends a shiver down our spine. Yes, because the recent scientific discoveries I'm about to tell you about. Dark cells. Imagine being a doctor analyzing a sample of human tissue under a microscope. You've seen all kinds of cells throughout your career: white blood cells, red blood cells, nerve cells, epithelial cells. And yet suddenly, under that lens, something absolutely unknown appears, something that has never been cataloged in scientific literature. Does it sound like the plot of a science fiction movie to you? Well, no, it's a real situation that some researchers have actually had to face. About 10 years ago, during a study conducted on human biological samples, a group of scientists identified a new type of cell that shouldn't exist. These dark cells, as they have been informally named, seem to evade traditional classification methods. They do not display the typical characteristics of cells. Their membrane is made up of molecular structures never seen before, and their behavior appears unusual, almost intelligent, considering the way they adapt to their surroundings. Now you might be wondering what's so unsettling about all this. Well, it's easy to explain. First of all, you have to consider that their very origin is a mystery. They are not found uniformly in all human bodies. In some people, they are completely absent, and in others, they seem to proliferate only in specific areas, for example, the nervous system or muscle tissue. In addition to this, they appear particularly resistant to traditional methods of cellular destruction, such as chemical treatments or extreme temperatures. For this reason, the implications for medicine are enormous. If these cells have a specific function, what could it be? Could they perhaps be linked to diseases that are still unknown, or to latent regenerative abilities in the human body? Some scientists are even wondering if they could be responsible for phenomena still considered inexplicable today, such as spontaneous healings or extrasensory perceptions. But there is another particularly disturbing fact about these cells, which greatly worries the researchers studying them. That is their ability to camouflage themselves. In some tests, they actually seem to shut down and become indistinguishable from normal human cells, almost as if they have some sort of advanced defense mechanism. And it's this peculiarity that has led some to suggest that they might not be native to the human body at all. Theories about their origin range from rational to science fiction. Some researchers hypothesize that they could be the result of recent genetic mutations caused by exposure to new environmental or chemical agents. Others, however, suggest they may result from an ancient evolutionary legacy that has resurfaced for unknown reasons. Or even worse, the sign of an extraterrestrial biological contamination. Either way, the research is still in its early stages, but their mere discovery has already started to rewrite the books of biology and medicine. How many things do we still not know about the human body? Is it really plausible to think that today's scientific knowledge is as exhaustive as they've wanted us to believe? The message of the ice. Imagine this scenario. A group of scientists in protective suits drilling into the Antarctic permafrost, bringing to light something that has been frozen for thousands of years. No, I'm not referring to ancient rock fragments or fossils, but to viruses. Prehistoric viruses that have slept for millennia, sealed in the ice, and now are waking up. Disturbing, right? Believe it or not, this scene is completely real. The most recent research conducted in Siberia and Antarctica has led to the discovery of extremely ancient viral strains, some of which date back over 48,000 years. A study published in 2023 identified a dozen new viruses, each of which is still potentially infectious. The scientists nicknamed one of these the Pandora virus iodoma in honor of the permafrost soil that preserved it. Despite the fascinating name, if we can call it that, this discovery also evokes an ancient and very real fear. And what if the discovery led to the awakening of something that humanity has never been prepared to face? Global warming, which has sped up in recent decades, is melting large areas of permafrost. With this process, ancient organic materials are being released into the environment, including microbes and viruses. If until a few years ago the idea of a zombie virus might have seemed pure fantasy, today it represents a risk that many experts take very seriously. Okay, many of these viruses will certainly be harmless to humans, but others could pose a potential threat. And here a crucial question arises. How far can we go in research without endangering humanity? Because it's one thing for viruses to be released into the environment due to the natural melting of ice, and it's another thing when humans themselves bring them to the surface for study. Understanding these ancient viruses can help scientists prepare for future pandemics. On the other hand, however, there's the risk that simply studying or manipulating these pathogens could accidentally release them into the environment. Quite a dilemma, don't you think? Should we stop research out of fear of possible risks or continue to explore, hoping that science can find solutions before disasters occur? Some scholars have already proposed stricter protocols for the management and containment of these pathogens, similar to those already used in maximum security laboratories. This should make us realize that this is not a topic to be taken lightly, but there's an even more unsettling question. What if some of these viruses have already started circulating without us realizing it? In an interconnected world like ours, a small threat can turn into something much more serious and frightening. That said, the message the ice is sending us is more than clear and frightening. Not everything that has been buried over time should be awakened. The transmissible consciousness, the discovery I'm about to tell you about, might not seem so unsettling at first glance. But when you stop to think about it and start considering the possible implications, everything becomes decidedly darker. In recent years, some neuroscientific experiments have begun to explore a territory that is truly incredible. That is the possibility of transferring memories, emotions, and even parts of human consciousness from one brain to another. These studies, conducted mainly on animal models, are opening new scenarios for the future of science, but are also raising disturbing questions at the level of human ethics. For example, a pioneering experiment in this field involved 2 laboratory mice. The researchers implanted electrodes in the brain areas involved in spatial memory in both animals. After training the first mouse to press a specific lever to get a reward, the neural signals recorded during learning were transmitted to the second mouse through a direct digital connection. Incredibly, the second animal, which had never participated in the training, showed similar behavior by pressing the correct lever to receive its reward without any direct experience. Now, if transferring a simple memory between 2 scholars already seems amazing, imagine doing it between 2 human subjects. Experiments in this area are already underway, but with many more precautions, of course. Some researchers are working on technologies for sharing sensory perceptions through brain interfaces. Imagine a future where it's possible to transfer the emotions of a happy moment or share the experience of a breathtaking landscape simply by connecting to another person's brain. Exciting, isn't it? Of course, if it weren't for the fact that the implications of these discoveries go far beyond simple entertainment or improving quality of life, the possibility of manipulating memories and thoughts opens up chilling scenarios when it comes to our mental privacy. If a memory could be transferred, it might also be erased or altered. We could reach the point where one person's memories are implanted into another, making it hard to tell what we've truly experienced from what has just been uploaded into our minds. Needless to say, there are quite a few ethical dilemmas. Who should have the right to access our memories? And what if this technology could be used for nefarious purposes, like mind control or manipulating perceptions? And what would be the psychological impact on a person who suddenly, whether they want it or not, finds themselves possessing memories that aren't their own? The scientists themselves acknowledge the risks. However, supporters of this new technology mainly emphasize its potential benefits. Patients with psychological trauma could have their painful memories eased or replaced. People affected by Alzheimer's could regain fragments of lost memory, and the transmission of knowledge could be accelerated to the point of eliminating or dramatically reducing the need for years of study. Anyway, we are still far from achieving such a technology that is fully functional and reliable. But every step forward brings us closer to a future where the line between reality, memory, and identity could become increasingly blurred. So how much of our mind will truly be ours? And what would happen if someone could tamper with it without us knowing? The verdict is up to you. Sounds from deep space. Imagine picking up a mysterious signal coming from the depths of space, a sound that travels for billions of light years before reaching the antennas of our telescopes. If you think that's impossible, well, you're very much mistaken. This is among the most recent and unsettling scientific findings, the so-called fast radio waves known as fast radio bursts, or FRBs. FRBs are brief and extremely powerful pulses of radio waves that last only a few milliseconds. But in this brief moment, they release as much energy as the sun does in a whole year. Their origin is shrouded in mystery. The first detection happened in 2007, and since then, scientists have identified hundreds of these signals coming from different points in the universe. Why are these radio waves so unsettling? First of all, the fact that we have no idea about their origin. Some of them seem to come from galaxies billions of light years away from Earth. In some cases, they repeat with such regularity that it makes you think they might serve as a kind of means of communication. Is unknown, a bit like an uninterpretable Morse code. Obviously, science has tried to offer more rational explanations. A leading theory is that they result from extreme cosmic events like merging neutron stars or magnetar activity, a particularly powerful form of star with an incredibly intense magnetic field. But not everyone is convinced that the answer is that simple. Some astrophysicists and enthusiasts of paranormal phenomena suggest that these signals could be attempts to send messages by extraterrestrial intelligences. After all, if we ourselves are trying to send messages into space through initiatives like the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Project, why not imagine that someone else could be doing the same thing? Another hypothesis is that FRBs could be the result of advanced alien technologies, maybe the product of the propulsion of gigantic spaceships that use energy beams to travel at incredible speeds. But in the absence of evidence to confirm it, these are only conjectures. To further complicate the mystery, there's also the fact that some FRBs seem to have a particularly complex structure, almost as if they contain encoded information. A fact that, if confirmed, would only give more credibility to the theory of a message of alien origin. Whether it's a natural phenomenon or proof of the existence of other forms of intelligent life in the universe, FRBs continue to fascinate and represent a real enigma for the scientific community. Will we ever be able to know for sure what it is? Time will tell. Threatening fungi. When we talk about fungi, parasites capable of manipulating the behavior of living beings, our minds immediately jump to a Hollywood movie scenario. Yet this is a reality that is already well documented in the animal world. One of the most famous examples is the fungus Cordyceps unilateralis, known for infecting ants and turning them into zombies. Have you never heard of it? In that case, here's a brief explanation of its effects. The parasite in question invades the ant's body by releasing chemicals that alter its behavior. Under the control of the fungus, the ant leaves its nest, climbs up a plant, and clings to a leaf, strategically positioned to support the fungus's growth. Once its life cycle is complete, the fungus kills the insect and releases spores to infect new victims. Chilling, isn't it? Okay, these are just ants, but what would happen if something similar could happen to humans? Believe it or not, science is starting to explore this possibility very seriously. Some recent studies suggest that certain fungi could have an impact on our nervous system. Even though there is no definitive evidence of species capable of directly controlling human behavior, as in the case of ants, there are some worrying signs. For example, the fungus Candida albicans, which naturally lives in the human body, has been linked to neurological problems in some patients. And some researchers have hypothesized that chronic fungal infections might be able to influence mood, contributing to depressive or anxious states. But the most unsettling discovery concerns the use of fungal compounds to modulate brain activity. Some psychotropic mushrooms, such as those containing psilocybin, have been studied for their therapeutic potential in treating depression or post-traumatic stress disorder. However, the fact that they can improve our mental state could also mean that other species might be able to manipulate it in unexpected ways. Besides Cordyceps, other parasites in the animal kingdom show surprising manipulative abilities. For example, the parasite Toxoplasma gondii infects mice and makes them recklessly attracted to the smell of cats, thus increasing the chance of being caught and completing its life cycle. And be careful because it can also infect humans. Studies have found correlations between Toxoplasma gondii infection and behavioral changes, such as a greater tendency to take risks or mood alterations in humans. Even though we're not ants, biology clearly shows that our brains are not immune to manipulation by external agents. Obviously, the scientific community is still trying to fully understand the interactions between fungi, the nervous system, and human behavior. But one thing is certain, the field of study is vast, still largely unexplored, and potentially frightening. For now, we can only hope that the next time we see a mushroom sprouting from the ground, it's just a harmless guest of the undergrowth, and not the beginning of a real nightmare. And these guys? These are 5 recent chilling scientific discoveries that make us realize how much we still need to study the world around us or outer space to prevent them from becoming a danger. But what do you think about these discoveries? Which one surprised you the most or scares you the most? Let me know in a comment. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, follow it on your favorite podcast platform, or share it with your friends. Greetings and see you at the next episode of Transmissible. Transmissible is a series created, written, Listen on YouTube or any music and podcast platform. Thank you all.